The Temptress. Miss Elvina was a short woman with a slender figure, over 45 years old. Despite her age, she looked quite young. She had a 24-year-old son and had moved abroad at the onset of the war. Her initial confusion, fear, and uncertainty gradually transformed into curiosity. She didn't want to work, nor did she speak the language of her new country. She occasionally attended courses, but only to stand out. She felt no need to learn the language, as she confidently received payments that allowed her to relieve stress by traveling around Europe. However, she soon grew tired of it, and a sense of loneliness and sadness overtook her. She sought help from psychologists, but found no solace. It's not good for a person to be alone, Elvina thought as she watched couples pass by. She longed for the passionate love of a foreigner. By chance, she came across a course titled How to Seduce a Foreigner in 3 Days. She quickly installed an app on her phone with the top 30 phrases for seduction, which stated, "Real seducers and seductresses, whom no one can resist, never act directly, vulgarly, or persistently. They prefer intellectual seduction, acting gently and unobtrusively." Elvina was thrilled by this idea. New opportunities for self-discovery were opening up for her. This is what it means to develop and grow, she thought. She quickly signed up for the course, paying 75% of her monthly income. At the time, it seemed like a good investment in her future, as she looked forward to a happy and secure life with a foreigner. After drinking coffee and stretching sweetly in anticipation, she headed home. On the way, she met other refugee women like herself. In her mind, she imagined how they would later envy her, and she would give them advice on how to seduce men, looking smart and happy, like a victorious woman. The most interesting part was just beginning. When Elvina arrived home, she saw a message. She had received 2 lectures on seduction, each lasting 15 minutes. That was the entire course she had paid for. Feeling a sigh of disappointment, she quickly discarded it. After all, there were secrets hidden there. Brevity is the sister of talent. There's no need for a lot of information, especially since I'm an experienced woman who has seen different things, she reassured herself. Eagerly opening the email, she started studying. As she thought at the time, in half an hour she had mastered all the secrets of the art of seduction. Now all that was left was to apply them in real life. The hunt was on. After choosing the most beautiful dress from her wardrobe, putting on makeup and buying cheap jewelry in a small shop, she went out into the world to seduce. The first thing they talked about in the course was to visit crowded places and casually walk back and forth, gently swaying your hips. At the same time, look thoughtfully into the distance. 2 weeks passed like that. Elvina's hips ached so much from the constant swaying that she couldn't sleep, and her legs were buzzing from the daily walks. She walked through all the parks in the city, visited all the big stores and small coffee shops, and even went to a restaurant and a movie theater. Her small amount of money melted away before her eyes. 3 days stretched into 2 weeks. Despair was getting closer and closer with its merciless tentacles. When she was ready to give up, she heard a voice behind her. "Why is such a beautiful woman alone?" The man spoke Russian with a foreign accent. Her heart started to race. "I did it. I did it." But she held back and was in no hurry to turn around. In the course, she was told to demonstrate calm indifference, as if this meeting meant nothing. Again, the question, what is such a beautiful woman doing alone in such a big city? Elvina turned with an attractive smile. Before her stood a middle-aged man, short, fat, and unkempt. His lustful gaze scanned her figure. "Yes, I'm walking," she replied in a seemingly indifferent, sweet voice. "Tsk, tsk," the man sniffled. "It's not good to be alone. Would you like some coffee? It's my treat." Elvina's heart started to race. Her love adventure had begun. She nodded her head in silence. They couldn't converse much. Every time he tried to hug Elvina carelessly, she flirtatiously dodged him, thinking she was so attractive that the poor man couldn't resist her. She overlooked his boorish behavior, looseness, obscene persistence, and dismissive voice. The man was constantly distracted by his phone, saying it was business and that he was on the verge of an important deal. Elvina nodded sympathetically, triumphing inwardly that she had found her happiness. A businessman. It didn't matter that he was fat and vulgar. She would learn to love him. They ordered dinner at a restaurant. When the smiling waitress brought the check, it turned out that the man's card didn't work. Probably something with the bank. It happens, he said shyly, avoiding her gaze. It's okay, I'll pay for it. Don't worry, Elvina said sympathetically. After paying for the dinner, they walked sluggishly through the long streets of the city. Elvina was no longer in the mood to sway her hips flirtatiously. She felt disappointed but pushed the feeling away, reassuring herself that it was just a coincidence. I have never met such a beautiful and kind woman as you. Do you want to go on a boat tomorrow? I have a private one. Elvina's heart beat faster. I do, she smiled coquettishly. Do you want to go now? Yes, she said, overcome with joy. The man stepped aside and called someone. After the call, he said that his friend hadn't returned with the steamer yet, but he had another boat, and they could go for a ride. He brought her to the pier. It was an ordinary small boat with fishing tackle in it, saturated with the smell of fish. They sat down, drank some wine, and as they sailed away from the shore, Elvina gave herself to the stranger on the smelly tackle. She passed out afterward. She woke up a few hours later at the pier without her bag, phone, or the rest of her money. Her body ached, her head pounded with pain, and her soul was shattered. Devastated, she made her way to a hotel room for refugees, avoiding the eyes of passers-by on her way. A few weeks later, her roommate found herself in the same predicament, but was more determined and reported it to the police. The case remained unresolved. The women hid the reason for their acquaintance from others. They had been deceived by the same seducer. Crying bitterly into her pillow and cursing her life, Elvina still attended foreign language courses. After a while, she came across another course on seducing men on social media, filled with wonderful reviews and happy photos. She paid for it again. This time, everything will be different. A persistent thought flashed through her mind, and once again, Elvina was overwhelmed with excitement at the anticipation of something